First CONTAKT and revelation. High Commander Vexilon of the Galactic Coalition vessel, Eternal Vigilance, had spent precisely 732 standard cycles patrolling the outer boundaries of the Sol system quarantine zone. It was considered the most boring assignment in the Coalition fleet, but today that had changed dramatically. High Commander. First Officer Nalith's voice quavered slightly as her six-fingered hands danced across the holographic command interface. The unidentified vessel is hailing us again. They claim to be human. Vexilon's silver-scaled skin rippled with distress, causing the ceremonial markings of his rank to shift into alarming patterns. The bridge crew fell silent, all four of their eyes fixed on the main view screen where a small, sleek spacecraft hovered just outside weapons range. "That's impossible," Vexilon said, though the evidence floated before them. "Humans are under Directive 7 quarantine. They shouldn't have developed interstellar capability for at least another century." "Nevertheless," Nalith replied, "they're here, and they're requesting permission to dock." Vexilon's throat sac inflated in frustration. In 900 years of Coalition history, no species had ever broken quarantine independently. There were protocols for first contact, of course, but humanity wasn't supposed to be making first contact. They were supposed to be safely contained on their dangerous little planet until they either matured or destroyed themselves. "Open communications," he finally ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the interior of the human vessel. A female with short dark hair and bronze skin smiled at them. Vexilon flinched involuntarily. Those teeth, so many teeth. "Greetings. I'm Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth Exploration Vessel Horizon. On behalf of the United Earth Alliance, I extend peaceful greetings to your species." Vexilon straightened to his full 3-meter height, grateful that the communication system would translate his words. "This is High Commander Vexilon of the Galactic Coalition vessel, Eternal Vigilance. Your presence in this sector violates Galactic Directive 7. Return to your homeworld immediately." Rather than appearing intimidated, the human's expression brightened with curiosity. "Galactic Coalition. There's an actual galactic government. And you know about Earth. This is amazing. We had no idea we were being observed." Chief Security Officer Mardox leaned close to Vexilon. "This is exactly what the warning archives described. Complete disregard for authority, pathological curiosity. They truly don't comprehend the danger they pose." Vexilon nodded gravely. "Captain Rice, this sector is restricted. Your species has been under quarantine since." "Quarantine?" Rice interrupted, her expression shifting rapidly from surprise to indignation. "You've been containing us. For how long? And why?" "The first rule of the universe," Vexilon stated flatly. "Don't touch the humans. You weren't meant to know about it." On the screen, Captain Rice appeared to consult with her crew off-camera before turning back. "With all due respect, High Commander, we're not going back. Humanity has worked too hard to reach the stars. We deserve answers. If you won't provide them, we'll continue our exploration until we find someone who will." Vexilon felt a headache forming behind his tertiary eyes. This was precisely why humans were quarantined. Their audacity was unmatched in the known galaxy. "Very well," he conceded. "You may dock with our vessel. A diplomatic team will meet with your representatives. But be warned, any aggressive action will be met with immediate force." The human captain smiled again, displaying those unsettling teeth. "Understood. We come in peace, Commander. We're just looking for answers, and maybe some new friends." As the communication ended, Nalith approached her commander. "Sir, Coalition protocols explicitly forbid." "I know the protocols," Vexilon snapped, "but they're already here. The quarantine has failed. We need to contain this situation before they make contact with other species who might not be so accommodating." 3 hours later, Vexilon found himself seated across from Captain Rice and her small delegation in the Vigilance's conference chamber. Security drones hovered discreetly in each corner, weapons systems primed. Let me understand this correctly, Rice said, sipping cautiously at the universal nutrient solution provided. Your coalition has been monitoring Earth for over 300 years, preventing any other species from making contact, because humans are considered. She consulted her translator. Dangerously unpredictable and evolutionarily aberrant. Precisely, Vexilon confirmed. Your species defies all standard development models. Most sentient life evolves toward stability, cooperation, and risk aversion. Humans consistently move in the opposite direction. Dr. Kenzo Tamura, the Horizon's chief scientist, leaned forward eagerly. We consider those traits advantages. Exploration requires risk-taking. Innovation demands thinking differently. Those very qualities are why you're quarantined, explained Nalith. The archive records from the Ancient Ones are quite clear. The last time humans were permitted unrestricted access to the galactic community, 3 star systems were accidentally rendered uninhabitable. The humans exchanged surprised glances. What do you mean, the last time? Rise asked slowly. Are you saying humans have been in space before? Vexilon realized too late his tactical error. That information is classified under Directive 7. Captain Rice stood abruptly, causing the security drones to hum to alert status. You've been lying to us. Humanity has had previous contact with alien civilizations, hasn't it? Before your coalition decided to lock us away on Earth. Please remain seated, Captain, Vexilon said firmly. This is precisely the impulsive behavior that. The ship's emergency klaxon suddenly blared to life. Mardox rushed into the conference room, his scales pallid with alarm. High Commander, we're receiving priority communications from Coalition Command. 17 more human vessels have been detected breaching the quarantine zone. They're dispersing in different directions toward populated systems. Vexilon's crest flattened against his skull in dismay. 17. How is this possible? We're an expeditionary fleet, Rise explained calmly. The Horizon was simply the first to make contact. The others are following the same first contact protocol. Approach peacefully, establish communication, exchange cultural information. You don't understand, Vexilon said, true fear entering his voice for the first time. Your presence destabilizes everything. The quarantine existed for a reason. Then explain it to us, Rise demanded. What happened in the past? What is the Coalition so afraid of? Before Vexilon could respond, Engineer Patel, who had been silently studying her handheld device throughout the meeting, suddenly looked up. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship's energy signatures. Their propulsion system, weapons, shields, everything is operating at approximately 35% efficiency compared to theoretical maximums. That's impossible, Nalith interjected. Our systems are calibrated too. I can see at least 7 ways to improve your matter-antimatter reaction chamber design, Paddle continued, her fingers dancing across her screen. The magnetic containment field is unnecessarily complex. A simple reconfiguration would increase output by at least 40%. The security drones moved closer as Vexilon rose to his full height. Stop this immediately. Access to our technical systems is forbidden. I'm not accessing anything, Paddle said, confused. I'm just observing and extrapolating based on the energy signatures. Vexilon exchanged alarmed glances with his officers. This was it, the very reason humans were quarantined. Their minds worked differently, seeing patterns and possibilities that other species missed, making intuitive leaps that defied logic. The archive was right, Mardox whispered. They can reverse engineer technology just by being in proximity to it. Captain Rice stood quietly. High Commander, I think it's time you told us what's really going on. What happened in humanity's past that terrifies your coalition so much? And what do you intend to do now that we've broken your quarantine? Vexilon's communicator chimed with a priority message. He read it and his posture stiffened. It appears, he said grimly, that the Galactic Council itself wishes to address this situation. Your vessel and crew will accompany us to Nexus Prime, the Coalition capital. The Council will determine the fate of humanity. And if we refuse? Rise asked. Then you will confirm everything the archives warn about your species, Vexilon replied. And the coalition will have no choice but to reinstate quarantine measures by any means necessary. The tension in the room crystallized as human and alien regarded each other across an unbridgeable evolutionary divide. Very well, Rice finally said. We'll go to your council, but we expect answers, not just judgment. Vexilon nodded solemnly. Be careful what you wish for, Captain. The truth about humanity's past might be more than you're prepared to accept. The trial of humanity. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime was designed to intimidate. Soaring crystalline arches supported a dome that displayed a real-time hologram of the galaxy, with coalition territories highlighted in vivid blue. Hundreds of representatives from member species occupied the tiered seating, their murmurs creating a cacophony of translated whispers. At the center of it all stood Captain Alina Reyes and her crew from the horizon, surrounded by coalition security drones. They had been waiting for 3 hours while the council deliberated in private. They're making us wait on purpose, Lieutenant Commander Jackson muttered. Standard psychological tactic. Dr. Tamura adjusted his translator. The architecture is fascinating, designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. Notice how the council seats are elevated above the speaking platform. What I notice, Engineer Patel said quietly, is that every species here seems to be watching us, like we might explode at any moment. She wasn't wrong. The assembled representatives were keeping a conspicuous distance, many using optical enhancements to observe the humans from afar. Finally, the chamber's acoustics shifted as 7 figures entered through a shimmering portal and took their places at the highest tier. The Prime Counselors, representatives of the founding species of the Coalition. Attention, announced a disembodied voice. The 177th emergency session of the Galactic Council is now in session. Presiding. Prime Counselor Zalorex of the Veteran Collective. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin that seemed to phase between solid and gaseous states rose from the central seat. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that made the human's teeth vibrate. We address the representatives of Sol 3, designation Earth, Zalorex intoned. Your species has violated Directive 7 by breaching quarantine. This council will determine what actions must now be taken. Captain Reyes stepped forward. Prime Counselor, before these proceedings continue, my crew and I deserve to know why humanity was placed under quarantine without our knowledge or consent. A ripple of astonishment passed through the chamber. Species did not make demands of the council. Zalorex's form shimmered with what might have been surprise. Very well. Since the quarantine has failed, there is no longer reason for secrecy. Archivist Telvac will present the historical record. A hunched figure encased in a mechanical exoskeleton approached a central podium. The ancient being placed a crystalline cube into the interface, and the galaxy display above transformed into historical footage. Approximately 12,000 standard cycles ago, Telvac began, voice crackling with age. Before the Coalition existed, the beings you know as humans were first encountered by the precursor civilizations. The display showed primitive Earth, but beside it were images that caused gasps among the human delegation. Massive, gleaming cities built by humans on Mars, the Jovian moons, and beyond. This is impossible, Dr. Tamura whispered. Human civilization is only about 10,000 years old. Your recorded history is only that old, Telvac corrected. What you see is from the first expansion era of humanity. Your species achieved interstellar capability not once, but 3 times in your planetary history. Each time, it ended in catastrophe. The display shifted to show scenes of terrible destruction. Planetary surfaces rendered molten, shattered moons, and starships engaged in desperate battles. The final conflict, known as the Sundering, occurred when human explorers inadvertently awakened the ancient void mines in the Cygnus sector. The resulting war nearly destroyed all sentient life in this arm of the galaxy. Captain Rice shook her head in disbelief. If this happened, why is there no evidence on Earth? No ruins, no records. Because, Zalorex interjected, the surviving precursor civilizations made a difficult choice. Rather than exterminate humanity entirely, which many advocated, they enacted the Great Forgetting. Earth was restored to a pre-technological state. Human genetics were slightly modified to slow technological development, and a quarantine was established. You erased our history, Rice said, horror in her voice. You tampered with our genes. You imprisoned us on our own planet. We saved you, countered another counselor, a crystalline entity that pulsed with internal light, and protected the galaxy from you. Humans possess a unique cognitive architecture that allows you to make intuitive leaps in technology, warfare, and problem-solving that other species cannot match. You progress too quickly, without the wisdom to match your power. Engineer Patel stepped forward, ignoring the security drones that moved to intercept her. That's why you're all so afraid. Not because of what we did in the past, but because of what we might do in the future. The quarantine was always temporary, Zalorex explained. It was to remain until humanity evolved greater stability, empathy, and caution. According to our models, that would take approximately 400 more of your years. High Commander Vexilon, who had been standing silently at the side of the chamber, now approached the council tier. The issue before us is not the past, but the present. 18 human vessels have breached quarantine. They cannot be allowed free access to Coalition space. The risk is too great. So what do you propose? Rise challenged. Wipe our memories again. Bomb us back to the Stone Age. Kill us all. We won't go back to Earth and pretend this never happened. The council chamber erupted in overlapping arguments, translation systems struggling to keep up with the cacophony. Zalorex raised all four arms, gradually restoring order. We have received reports, the Prime Counselor said, that several human vessels have already made contact with non-coalition species in the Outer Rim. Trade negotiations have begun. Cultural exchanges are underway. The quarantine is irreparably broken. A murmur of dismay spread through the chamber. There is another option, said a new voice. A small, gray-skinned being with enormous eyes stepped forward from among the lower tiers. I am Ambassador Xen of the Mentari Oversight. We have been monitoring this situation with interest. The Oversight has no standing here, protested Vexilon. They chose to remain independent of the Coalition. Precisely why our perspective has value, Sen replied smoothly. We propose that humanity's unique cognitive abilities are not a threat, but an asset, if properly directed. Captain Rice studied the new arrival carefully. What exactly are you suggesting? A partnership, Sen said. Not quarantine, not destruction, but integration, with safeguards. Humanity joins the galactic community, but with oversight mentors attached to each expedition to ensure compliance with safety protocols. You want to babysit us, Lieutenant Commander Jackson said flatly. We want to prevent another sundering, Sen corrected, while benefiting from human innovation. Your engineer Patel identified efficiency improvements to Coalition technology within hours of exposure. Imagine what human minds could accomplish if properly guided. Zalorex's form rippled thoughtfully. The Council will consider this proposal. While you deliberate, Rice said firmly, I want to know one thing. What exactly is the unique cognitive architecture that makes humans so different? What can we do that terrifies you so much? Telvac, the ancient archivist, answered, Your species alone possesses what we call divergent associative reasoning. Where other sentient minds follow logical, sequential patterns, human minds create unlikely connections between disparate concepts. You see patterns where none exist, imagine possibilities no one has considered, and most dangerously, you act on intuition rather than certainty. You mean creativity, Dr. Tamara said suddenly. You're describing human creativity. A dangerous oversimplification, Vexilon insisted. It's an evolutionary aberration, Fat. that helped us survive on a planet with stronger, faster predators. Rise interrupted. That let us adapt to every environment on Earth. That took us from stone tools to space travel in the evolutionary blink of an eye. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled. Finally, Zulorix spoke. The council will recess for deliberation. Humans will remain under protective custody until our decision is rendered. 3 days later, Captain Rice and her crew were summoned back to the council chamber. The gallery was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all straining to witness this historic moment. Zulorix's form was unusually stable as the Prime Counselor rose to speak. After extensive deliberation, this council has reached a decision regarding humanity. The quarantine established by the precursors can no longer be maintained and will be officially terminated. A ripple of reaction spread through the chamber. However, Zulorix continued, unrestricted human expansion cannot be permitted. Therefore, we endorse a modified version of the oversight proposal. Humanity will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Coalition, with certain restrictions. Captain Reyes stepped forward. What restrictions? Human vessels will carry coalition observers. Certain technologies will remain restricted until humanity demonstrates responsible use. And most importantly, a new directive will be established. The Prometheus Protocol. Named after the human myth of the Firebringer. Explained Telvac. Humanity's gift for innovation will be directed towards specific challenges facing the coalition. Medical research, sustainable energy, theoretical physics, under careful supervision. You want to use us, Rice said flatly. We want to integrate you, Zulorix corrected. Your species possesses abilities the galaxy needs, but those same abilities, unchecked, have led to disaster before. The chamber waited in tense silence as Captain Rice conferred quietly with her crew. Finally, she turned back to the council. We accept your terms, provisionally. Humanity will join your coalition and participate in this Prometheus protocol. But we have conditions of our own. Vexilon made a sound of protest, but Zulorix gestured for silence. Proceed. First, all information about humanity's past will be shared with Earth. Our history belongs to us, no matter how painful. Second, the genetic modifications made to humans will be reversed. And third, Earth will have full representation on this council, with voting rights equal to any other member. The chamber erupted again, but Zulorix raised all 4 arms for silence. Your terms are unexpected, but they will be considered. For now, Captain Rice, you may inform your people that the stars are open to them once more, with caution. As the formal session concluded, Ambassador Xen approached the human delegation. A successful outcome, the gray-skinned diplomat observed. Though I suspect neither side is entirely satisfied. The best compromises rarely satisfy anyone completely, Rice replied. But it's a start. Indeed. And between us, Sen added, leaning closer, there's something the council didn't mention. The real reason the first rule existed, which is, every civilization fears what it cannot understand, Sen said simply. And no species in the galaxy understands how humans think. That unpredictability terrifies them, but it fascinates some of us. The galaxy has been stable for too long. Perhaps it needs a little human chaos. As Captain Rice and her crew returned to the horizon, they gazed out at the spectacular alien cityscape of Nexus Prime, stretching toward the horizon under twin-setting suns. So, Lieutenant Commander Jackson said, after 12,000 years, humanity is finally rejoining the galactic community. With restrictions, Patil added. For now, Rice said, a familiar determination in her voice. But they'll learn what every power in human history eventually discovered. What's that, Captain? Asked Dr. Tamara. Rice smiled. The first rule existed for a reason, and they're about to remember why. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.